Signature bond is just signing this so far.
Good afternoon, Judge Morrow. How you doing, sir?
Doing well, Norris. How are you?
Wonderful, sir.
Good, good. We ready to get started?
Yes, you can give your announcement.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings this afternoon. We are providing you with the assistance of public defenders if you choose to utilize their services and do not have a private attorney. Who do we have first?
This is going to be position number one, Mr. Carl Abernathy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Abernathy. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006857Y with criminal trespass. Good afternoon, Ms. Jackson. Is there a history?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Your Honor?
I can hear you.
Okay. He has 3 cycles. The last arrest was August the 22nd, 2019, with the City of Atlanta Police Department for aggravated assault. And he does appear to be on probation for that charge. That case number is 19 SC 171012. That disposition date was February the 26th, 2024, and the term is for 10 years. He does appear to meet the criteria for UJR through the jail. Nothing in addition, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
Thank you. I apologize.
Yeah,
Your
you're
Honor,
fine.
that's my case. Mr. Abernathy was reset, I believe, from Saturday. This is an incident that occurred on the 4th of October. Police were called to 1046 Catherwood Drive. That's with a K, Katherwood. There it was reported that the defendant had been found inside the residence. It is a vacant location owned by an organization. The gentleman, Mr. Hawes, who is one of the contractors working there, refurbishes these residences. He reported that he'd seen the defendant there the day prior asleep. He'd asked the defendant to leave. The defendant did leave. And then when Mr. Hawes came back on that date to the 4th of October, the defendant was there again, sleeping in a back room. Police came and observed the defendant sleeping in the back room. He had refused the request made by Mr. Hawes again to leave. Police escorted the defendant outside and again was told he should not return. We're asking for $1,000 surety, Your Honor. He's currently on probation through Fulton County. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and stay away from the location at 1046 Catherwood Drive. Thank you.
McLean, is this your case?
This is my case, Your Honor. Keith Cook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're not on camera, Mr. Cook. Good afternoon.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
Okay, there you go.
There we go. We're well or good, well or ill. Your Honor, my client's 36 years old. He's not employed. He could not. He gave me an address. Says he has no phone. Has no money, obviously, and I understand that he's on probation on another charge. We would be seeking a signature bond, if possible, through the jail. I don't think he's had a criminal trespass conviction, and I didn't catch what he's on probation for. But if he's restricted, he's restricted. But the lowest bond possible, we would be seeking a signature bond.
Does he need assistance with housing, Mr. Cook?
He gave me an address. He says he does not. I may send. Well, I think I will put a note to if they can get there while he's still in. I'll see if the social workers will pay him a visit and.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. It sounds to me like he might have need some assistance with housing. So if you can just provide that to him, so if he does, he'll have it. As such, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from the Catherwood Drive address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, and if necessary, a social worker visit to assist with housing. Good luck to you, Mr. Abernathy.
Your Honor, will you repeat that amount? It kind of went blurry.
$3,000 signature bond through the jail.
Thank you.
Who do we
Next,
have next?
we're gonna go to position number 7, Mr. Shadarian Dunn.
Okay, sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dunn. You have been charged in case 24 CR 006891G with battery. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has 4 cycles. The last arrest was July the 18th, 2019, with the City of Atlanta Police Department for driving without a valid license. There was no disposition for that arrest. He was recommended for a UJR through the jail, Your Honor. Nothing in addition.
Yes, Ms. McConkey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The incident location is 2524 MLK Junior Drive Southwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Jasmine Newman. She states that the defendant and her got into an argument over a Waffle House sandwich when the defendant started to push her and strike her in the face. The victim, Ms. Newman, then grabbed a knife in self-defense and told the defendant that if he hit her again, she would stab him. The defendant then rushed at her, and the knife that she had in her hand did cut him. The victim sustained a bruise to her leg, as well as lacerations. Our office has had a chance to speak with Ms. Newman, who states her and the defendant are in a relationship. They don't live together and they share no children. The incident location is her residence, and the defendant does stay there from time to time. She confirmed the events in the warrant and confirmed that she had scratches as well as that bruise to her leg. States the defendant has been violent with her in the past, but this is the first time that the police have been involved, and that he does get very aggressive. She states the defendant's family has been making comments about the situation on social media, and she of course wants no contact and wants him to stay away from the residence. She does state that he will need a one-time law enforcement escort to get the few belongings that are at her home, and she will be filing a TPO. The state's recommendation, given the facts of this case, is a $2,000 surety bond, that the defendant have no further contact with the victim, he stay away from that incident location, he take some anger awareness classes, and have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Ms. Newman, I see that you're with us this afternoon. If you wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. You, of course, do not have to, but if you wish to address the court, you'll need to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I'll have to swear you in. Does not appear that Ms. Newman would like to address the, oh, here she goes. No, I can't. You have to unmute yourself, Ms. Newman. There you
Okay.
go.
Hey, how
Can
you doing?
I'm doing well, ma'am. Can you raise your right hand for me, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I would like to tell the court that I did take out a TPO. I am a little fear because people is making threats and calling my phone. I don't know who gave them my number to make the threats. I did just leave the courthouse to get a TPO. I mean, I just don't want him coming back to the house. You know what I'm saying? I just want him to stay away. And I just wish he gets some anger management classes, because every time he's drinking, he's very angry and he's aggressive. I have bruises all over me, cuts on my legs. Like, I'm just in pain. Like, you know, he just jumped on me last week with cuts in my mouth. You know, I didn't call the police. I didn't call this time. He called. So I just really just want him to stay away. You know what I'm saying? I am a little feared because I don't know what they'll do, because they've been making threats, but I just want him to stay away from my house.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Newman.
No problem.
Ms. McLeod, good afternoon. Is this your case?
It is my case, Your Honor. Good afternoon. I noticed that Ms. Newman stated that people have been making threats to Your Honor, and she doesn't know how they got her phone number. I just wanted to state on the record that when I asked my client if he had her phone number, because I wanted to speak to her to see how she felt about this case, he did not have her phone number. He did not know her phone number at all. Did not have it committed to memory. So if anyone has her phone number, it certainly is not because of my client, because after the stabbing, he was taken to Grady Hospital. The warrant states that Miss Newman called her brother and her mother over there, and I believe it alleges that her brother that they had guns. At least that is what the officers reported in the warrant. We are of the opinion, Your Honor, based on what my client tells me, that he was not the aggressor here and he was stabbed. That is true. You can see that his hands is still bandaged. He was stabbed and had to be taken to Grady Hospital. He's okay with no further contact with Miss Newman. He, of course, would like a one-time police escort to get his belongings from her home, Your Honor, and I would ask the court to consider giving him a signature bond through the jail because he really was the victim here. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. It will be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Jasmine Newman, stay away from the MLK Junior Drive address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good afternoon. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
McLeod.
you.
Good luck to you, Mr. Dunn.
Next, Your Honor, this is gonna be position number 2, Mr. Irvin Alexander.
Good afternoon, Mr. Alexander. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0068886G with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, he has 19 cycles. The last arrest was May 2nd, 2024 in Fulton County for burglary and theft by taking. Those charges were dismissed on June 13th, 2024. He does appear to have open cases pending in Fulton County. The first case is 24 PI 003071, and that's for theft by shoplifting and possession of controlled substance. The second case is 24 SC 003911, and the underlying charge is theft by shoplifting. He does have prior felony convictions, one in 2024 for theft by shoplifting, and one in 2007 out of North Carolina for possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute. And he does have misdemeanor convictions. It's one in 2022 out of DeKalb County with theft by shoplifting and obstruction of an officer. There's another one in 2022 out of Chamblee, Georgia for theft by shoplifting. And he does appear to meet the criteria for UJRA level 3. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident took place at the Georgia World Congress Center located at 285 Andrew Young International Boulevard in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of trespassing at the location. The building was closed for business at the time he was found there. And at first he told officers that he worked at the location, but they were able to confirm he was not an employee. He then did admit to officers that he was just looking for a place to stay. Given the defendant's criminal history, as well as the fact that he has a couple of open cases, there is a concern that he will reoffend. Therefore, the state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond, a stay away from that incident location, a social worker visit, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while he's out on bond.
Yes, Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. My client's 39 years old. He gave me the address of 1328 Peachtree Street, 30309. That, of course, is First Presbyterian Church. That's what he uses as his mail drop. Beyond that, he is homeless and has been bouncing around from shelter to shelter. His mother lives in North Carolina. I was not able to get in touch with her. He doesn't work, has no money, and we would be looking for the lowest bond possible. Obviously, I'm not sure if, I don't think he's restricted from a signature bond, but I understand the background. So beyond that, we would leave it. We would seek that, but beyond that, we would leave it in your discretion. He would have no, we would have no problem with a stay away or no condition.
Okay, I want him to have a social worker visit to assist with housing if necessary. Appears that there might be an issue there. It'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pre-trial. I don't want to set him up for failure, so I'm going to make it a level 1. Stay away from the 285 Andrew Young address, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. I'm gonna let you out, Mr. Alexander, but you're gonna have to make sure you come back for your next court hearing or they're gonna put a warrant out for you and you're gonna be right back where you are. Also, stay away from that Andrew Young address, okay? All right, good luck to you, sir.
Next, Your Honor, is gonna be position number 3, Mr. Jasper Austin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Austin. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0068887C with 2 counts of willful obstruction of law enforcement officers and criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor, he has 5 cycles. The last arrest was May the 16th, 2024 in Lithonia, Georgia, for driving while license suspended or revoked. That case appeared to be still pending, Your Honor. He does have 1 prior misdemeanor conviction. It's in 2023 out of Tennessee for assault. And he does appear to meet the criteria for UJRA level 3. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at the Glen Hotel located at 110 Marietta Street Northwest in Atlanta. The defendant refused to leave the incident location after the security officer, Desmond Edison, and the supervisor, Sebastian Russo, told him that he had to leave. After numerous times of the employees asking him to leave, he got up from the couch that he was sitting on, moved to another couch, then proceeded to take a knife out of his pocket and place it on the table and say, "This is what I'm working with just in case." At this point, the officers were called, and when they arrived, they found the defendant lying on a sofa at the location. When officers tried to detain him, he kept trying to run away and continuously snatched his arms away from the officers. The officers did find a knife in the defendant's pocket. And based on the facts of this case, it's very concerning that he took out a knife. I know he didn't make a direct threat, but there is an implied threat by placing it on the table and telling those employees that's what he was working with. He also does have that violent conviction out of Tennessee. So the state's recommendation is going to be a $500 surety bond on each count of willful obstruction, a $1,000 surety bond on the criminal trespass. Stay away from that incident location, that he have no further contact with those employees, Desmond Edison and Sebastian Russo. A social worker visit may be appropriate, but I'm sure Mr. Cook can speak more to that. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, I think we'll keep the social workers busy. We'll certainly ask for that. Beyond that, he's 33 years old. He did give me a good address. His sister gave me a couple of numbers. One is a sister who lives out of town. I understand the previous conviction, and I understand the concern over the knife. However, it is criminal trespass. We would ask the judge for a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. Obviously, no objection to stayaways or no further contact provisions.
For each count, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Makes for a total of a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial level 3. Stay away from the Glen Hotel on Marietta Street. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Austin.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 4, Mr. Christopher Collins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0068888J with criminal trespass and cruelty to animals. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, he has 7 cycles. The last arrest was October the 13th, 2023 in Fulton County for a failure to appear. The underlying charge was not listed, Your Honor. He does appear to be on probation in Fulton County for cruelty to animals, 2 counts, and teetering. That disposition date was November the 9th, 2023. The term is for 12 months. And that case number is 23 CR 0000137 and a letter J. He does have one prior misdemeanor conviction that was in 2017 for battery, family violence. And he does appear to meet the criteria for UJR level 2. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred at a vacant property that is currently listed for sale. That incident location is 1761 Timothy Drive Southwest in Atlanta. The person who manages that property is Jariah Cohen, who stated that he arrived at the property and found the defendant there. The defendant then left, but Mr. Cohen was able to take pictures of him and provide those images to the police. The police then found and apprehended the defendant, who claimed that he had only been at the home for about a day, but the evidence at the house indicated that it had been occupied for longer than that. Officers found 3 dogs in the home at the time, and they also found dog feces and urine scattered throughout the home and also on the sofas that were there. The dogs also did appear to be malnourished. Our office has spoken with Mr. Cohen, who states that he had a showing the Friday before the incident, and the location was clean and unoccupied, so the defendant must have come into the residence overnight. He stated that the house had been staged for the showing and that he confirmed the feces and urine were all over the furniture. He states he had to pay for the damaged furniture and also hire cleaners to clean up and get the smell out of the house. He never gave the defendant permission to occupy the residence, and he wants the defendant to have no contact with him and also to stay away from the residence. The state's recommendation is going to be for a signature bond, stay away from that incident location, no further contact with Jariah Cohen, that the defendant have no animals while out on bond, and that he also have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol. I believe Mr. Cohen is on the Zoom today, so if you could please sound for him.
Ms. McConkey, do you have any information for the court on the underlying cruelty to animals that he's on probation for? Generally speaking, there is a provision that you're not supposed to have animals while you're on probation. Do you know if he's restricted in that respect?
I will look into that, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And if Mr. Cohen is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so.
I have nothing further to add, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection to the recommendations of the state.
Okay, well, let me find out from Ms. McConkey whether he's restricted on having animals.
Your Honor, I just pulled it up. That 23 CR case does say cannot own animals for 5 years.
Okay, I thought that might be the case. Thank you, Ms. Allen. Given that he's possibly in violation of that underlying cruelty to animals charge, it's going to be a $500 good bond on each charge, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. Stay away from the Timothy Drive address, no further contact with Mr. Cohen, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If he does not get out, he'll be on the SAP calendar on October 22nd. I will be on that SAP calendar, and Mr. Cook, if you will I would also like for him to have a social worker visit.
Yes, sir.
You'll have a social worker report to me at that time regarding Mr. Collins. I'd appreciate it.
That's 1022 is the.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Collins.
No, you gotta pay. Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 5, Mr. Stanley Doherty.
Good afternoon, Mr. Doherty. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0068889F with criminal trespass. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has 25 cycles. The last arrest was September the 8th, 2024 in Fulton County for criminal trespassing. That case appeared to be still pending, Your Honor, and this might be a bond surrender. The case number is 24 CR 00634 I'm gonna look this up and just double check and see if it's a signature bond. If so, we're requesting a bond surrender, Your Honor. He does have prior felony convictions, one in 2020 out of Clayton County for terroristic threats and act, one in 2016 out of Cobb County for forgery in the first degree. And he does have misdemeanor convictions and sentences. He received a nolo contendory sentence in 2019 for theft by shoplifting. And there was a conviction in 2019 out of Clayton County for criminal trespassing, and one in 2017 for 2 counts of disorderly conduct. There's an additional one in 2017 for simple battery, one in 2015 for obstructing an officer and wearing a mask, a hood, or a device which concealed an identity, which concealed the identity of a weaver or something. Wearer, I apologize. One in 2007 out of DeKalb County for giving false information to an officer. And I apologize for being out of order. One in 2009 for criminal trespassing and simple assault. And he received a nolo contendory sentence in 2006 out of Clayton County for criminal trespassing. He does appear to meet the criteria for a UJR level 3. In the meanwhile, Your Honor, I'm going to go ahead and check and see if that's a pretrial case, and I'll let the courts know after you decide.
It is, Ms. Jackson, I looked it up for you, it is.
Thank you. So we're requesting a bond surrender, Your Honor.
Apparently, I gave him an SOB through pretrial on September 9th for criminal trespass. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. I appreciate that. Yes, Ms. McConkey.
Yes, Your Honor, and that criminal trespass was at the same location as this current incident, that Shell gas station located at 3160 Greenbrier Parkway in Atlanta. So given those facts and the fact that he was just given an SOB literally less than a month ago, the state's recommendation is going to be for a $1,000 surety bond. Again, stay away from that incident location, a social worker visit, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Cook.
Your Honor, my client's 40 years old. He lived very close to the Shell station. That's not a surprise, but there is his position is that there is a way to walk either on the Shell property or whatever to his apartment in Continental Colony. That's near Greenbrier. I know that area fairly well. I understand that you just recently gave him a signature bond. I guess they're coming off of it. We'll certainly request a social worker visit. He is on SSI, which puts him at about $914 a month. He has a sister in town. I was not able to get in touch with her. Given the circumstances, we're going to request a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate.
Okay, I think that I had this conversation with you last time, Mr. Doherty, and at the same time, you told me where you lived and that it was going to be difficult. I want to make sure that we don't keep seeing you back for these criminal trespasses at this Shell station. I can't give you another signature bond since I just gave you a signature bond less than a month ago. But I will see you back on October 22nd. I'll see you personally, and I'll discuss it again with you. If you have not gotten out by that time. But it's going to be, for this case, $1,000 good bond. Stay away from that Shell gas station on Greenbrier Parkway. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, and a social worker visit. He'll report to me so that maybe we can find a way that if you're having those type of difficulties, that you don't keep getting arrested and coming back here. Did you have something, Ms. Lewis?
Yes, I was just letting the judge know that he's also on the October 25th mental health court calendar.
Okay, all right. So October 25th.
That's on a Thursday.
Right.
It's already,
So why don't
he's on the jail part of it. I guess he's a candidate they're considering. I don't know if they through with the process, what they have to do on their end, but he is scheduled for 10/25.
Okay, and this other criminal trespass case, that's on that calendar?
No, no, just the
Mhm.
one that, this is just the current, what I'm saying, hold on. The one that he made the pre-trial, bond on, the first one that happened on 9/8/2024. That case is on there, which is
Okay.
20 CR 006349F.
Okay, so why don't we just place this case, Ms. Bridgewater, let's just place this case also on that October 25th calendar, so we can, I won't be on that calendar, but whoever the judges say can handle both these cases at the same time.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Your
All
Honor,
right.
I'm going to, I'm making out the social workers, but it sounds like he's probably had some visits if he's been assigned to MH court.
Okay, all right, so let's just make sure, Mr. Cook, so that when he gets to that Thursday, that you all have everything lined up so that we can assist him.
Sure.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Doherty.
Here we go. He's gonna tell you. Your Honor, next we got position number 6, Mr. Willie Dotson.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Dotson. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006890D with 2 counts of terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has one prior cycle. The last arrest was February the 10th, 2013, with the City of Atlanta Police Department for simple battery family violence. There was no disposition for that arrest, Your Honor, and there are no convictions listed. He does appear to meet the criteria for a UJR through the jail. Nothing additional.
Yes, Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred 204 Tawanda Drive Southeast in Atlanta. The defendant is accused of threatening to shoot his brothers, Derek Dotson and Terry Dotson. Derek told officers that this has been an ongoing issue and that the defendant has made numerous threats in the past, but police officers never came to the scene in time. The defendant advised officers that he was upset because his family members always tried to blame everything on him. The party's sister, Valencia Wright, confirmed that she did hear the defendant state, "I'm going to shoot you." Our office has had a chance to speak with both Derek and Terry Dotson, who confirmed the events in the warrant, stated this is not the first time the defendant has threatened to shoot Derek. The defendant does have a gun in the house and has pulled it out on Derek in the past. Derek states that he is afraid of the defendant at times and that he wants no contact with the defendant and wants him to stay awake. Terry Dotson confirmed the same thing, states that the defendant the argument started because he told the defendant he needs to start cleaning up around the house, and that's when the defendant got upset and threatened to shoot him. He confirmed again that the defendant does have a gun, but Terry has not seen the gun himself. He wants no contact with the defendant and states that the defendant should stay away from the incident location. Terry does not live at the incident location, but the other brothers do. The state's recommendation is going to be for a signature bond, that he have no further contact with either of his brothers, Terry or Derek Dotson, that he stay away from that incident location, that he undergo some anger awareness, surrender all of his firearms, and have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for both Derek and Terry Dotson.
Mr. Derek or Terry Dotson's on the line and wish to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so.
Well, I would like the family to receive some help or whatever.
Okay, hold on. I see Tristan's iPhone. So can you come on camera for me, whoever this is? Okay, there you go. And tell me your name.
Derek Dotson.
Okay, Mr. Derek Dotson, if you'll raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, sir?
Like I said, I would like for him to kind of stay away because like I said, he gets very violent at times.
Okay.
And see some substance abuse or whatever. Because
Okay.
he gets very upset.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here, sir.
Your Honor, may I inquire just briefly?
Yes, Mr. Cook, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Dodson, I just wanted to quickly, I know there a few brothers lived there. Are you- I understand you have a very, very sick brother, Stephen, that Mr. Willie Dodson has been helping as far as taking care of him. When I mean very sick, I mean maybe terminal. Is that situation going to be okay if Mr. Dodson does not return to the residence? I mean, is somebody taking care of Stephen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to, clarify that for my edification. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Cook?
Yes, we would have no objection to, obviously, to a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate. Might be a little dicey on the stay away for him, but if he has to find another place, well, he'll have to find other accommodations. I know that he's been there for many years. They all have. So beyond that, we would object to any anger management or any courses like that at this point.
Okay, for each charge, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Mr. Derek or Terry Dobson at the present time. Stay away from the incident location. He can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. So any firearms that he has, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons otherwise. Good luck to you, Mr. Dodson. You also, Mr.
Thank you,
Derek
sir.
Dodson.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 10, Mr. John Harris Jr.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harris. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006895F with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor, he has 10 cycles. The last arrest was September the 11th, 2024, with the Georgia Department of Community Supervision for a probation violation. He does appear to be on probation in Cobb County for reckless conduct and criminal damage to property in the second degree. That disposition date was November the 27th, 2023. 19 days of confinement and 2 years and 11 months and 11 days of probation. He does have prior misdemeanor convictions. One in 2012 out of Cobb County for disorderly conduct. One in 2005 out of DeKalb County for giving false information to an officer. One in 2004 out of DeKalb County for simple battery. And he does appear to meet the criteria for UJR a level 3. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. It does look like the defendant also had, I'm not sure if pretrial mentioned this, but he has a 2021 arrest for false imprisonment, criminal damage to property, and aggravated assault. That was no prost. This incident occurred at 880 Rock Street Northwest in Atlanta. That is the Ashby Parks apartment complex. The victim in this case is Quenisha Tab. The defendant and the victim were having a verbal dispute because the victim had asked the defendant to leave the residence because of his continued aggressive behavior towards her. During that argument, the defendant proceeded to grab the book bag that the victim had on her and then proceeded to have him scratch her on the arm. When the victim told the defendant that she was calling the police, the defendant fled the scene and then went to the back of her residence and turned her power off from her main breaker. Her office has had a chance to speak with Ms. Tab, who confirmed that her and the defender are in a relationship. They do live together and they share 4 children. She confirmed the events in the warrant and stated that she had been calling the police on the defendant for months at this point, but he would flee the scene before the police arrived. She states that she's in danger of being put out of her residence because the defendant is very disorderly and disturbs all of the neighbors. She states the defendant is using drugs and needs help. This is not the first time he's been violent towards her. They have a case in Cobb from around 2022 to 2023, according to the victim. She doesn't want any contact with the defendant and wants him to stay away from the residence. The defendant has called the victim since he's been in jail, where he proceeded to tell her that she put a lot of charges on him. Our office would recommend a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, stay away from that incident location, that he undergo some anger awareness, and have no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while he is out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Ms. Quenisha Tab. I believe she is on the Zoom.
Ms. Tab is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. You need to activate your camera for me, ma'am, if you'd like to address the court, and I'll have to swear you in. Okay, so I see you there, Ms. Tab.
It won't let me start. It won't let me start. How do I start it?
Okay, there you go. You're on now. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I just want to tell the court, like she said, I just don't want him to come back because his continuous behavior and scaring my kids, and I'm in jeopardy of being put out. I am a single mom. I take care of my kids on my own. So I don't want him there bothering me. And I just need that to stop. If I can have a TPO or something, anything that he cannot come to my residence and start bothering.
Okay. Does he have anything at your residence that he's gonna need to get?
He do have clothes there that he probably would want to come and get.
Okay, I'm gonna have him come there with a police escort. So the police will be with him if he chooses to come get his belongings, and I'll also have him stay away from you at the present time, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Tab. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 37 years old. He makes a modest living as a forklift driver for a company out on Thornton Road. They've actually been in a relationship for 13 years. So I understand her name may be on the on the lease, but it's his residence too. However, he is ready to move on with his life, so we would not object to a stay away or no further contact. Given the his modest resources, we would be seeking a signature bond, Your Honor.
Okay. It'll be a $2,000 good bond, no further contact with Ms. Tab, stay away from the incident location. He can go back to that location on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Can I just ask Ms. Tab if the children have been legitimated yet?
Ms. Tab, I believe that's directed to you.
Yes, Ms. Tab, has he legitimated the children? No.
Okay.
You guys aren't married, correct?
No,
Then
we're
you
not.
never-
Okay, I'll have him abide by any pre-existing visitation arrangement. If there are no visitation arrangements at the present time, then he'll have to seek to enforce some. But okay. All right. Good luck to you, Ms. Tab. You also, Mr. Harris.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 14, Mr. James Jones.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Jones. You have been charged in case 24 CR 0068882G with 2 counts of battery family violence and 1 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has 5 cycles. The last arrest was June the 1st, 2016 in Fulton County for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. There was no disposition for that arrest. He did receive first offender treatment in 2011 for robbery. That case was sealed July the 27th, 2018. He does have one misdemeanor sentence. He received a nolo contendere sentence in 2008 for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. He does appear to meet the criteria for UJR a level 1. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred actually in June the 26th of 2024. Police were called at about 10:30 p.m. to 540 Humphrey Street Southwest, Unit 2314 specifically. There they met with the victim. Her name is Daphne Thrash. She reported that the defendant had assaulted her. Actually, police reported to the ER in Henry County and met with Miss Thrash, who had reported being assaulted in the Atlanta jurisdiction. And so the police report she made, and then police met with her in her home after the fact at that 540 Humphrey Street address. She said that the defendant, who was her live-in boyfriend, and someone she'd been in a relationship for a period of time, had assaulted her the night before. She was seen to have scratches and visible injuries on her neck, swelling and a knot on her ear, as well as her forehead. She also reported experiencing hearing loss on her right side in that ear. She'd been punched there. She reported being punched so many times she wasn't really sure how and how many. She also reported that her 2-year-old, initials NT, was present while she was assaulted by the defendant. We've tried to get in touch with Miss Thrash today and have not been successful yet, but we'll continue those efforts. We will ask for a no contact with Miss Thrash, stay away from the location there on Humphrey Street or wherever she may currently live. No contact with her whatsoever. Surrender any firearms and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And I say to surrender firearms, not because there's one involved here, but specifically because it looks like he received a first offender disposition. And so he may still be able to carry those. And if you'd sound for Mrs. Thrash, thank you.
Daphne Thrash is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. Cook?
This is not my client, Your Honor. I believe this is
McLean?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. James Jones graduated from Benjamin Mays, High School, and he has certification as a forklift operator and has that job on a regular basis through Staff Mart. So he's employed. He's 35 years old. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond. If that's not possible, then to consider a surety bond as possible. He will be showing up for court. He's quite local, and there we are.
Okay, for each of the battery family violence, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the cruelty, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. No further contact with Ms. Thrash. Stay away from the incident location or her residence. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation. Surrender any firearms, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Jones.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Can you give me the breakdown of that bond again, please?
Yes, it's $2,000 for each of the batteries and $1,000 for the cruelty. Makes for a total of $5,000. Signature bond through pretrial level 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, Your Honor, we're going to go to position number 18. Mr. Thomas, Caleb Thomas.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas. You have been charged in case 24 CR 006900F with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He does not have any prior arrests on file, Your Honor. He does appear to meet the criteria for UJR through the jail. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 5th of October at 2 Interlock Avenue Northwest, apartment 112. There, police responded and met with the victim named Lee Manley. He was seen outside with a visible, very bloody laceration, actively bleeding from his head. He reported that his partner, the defendant, had struck him with a bottle, and that he had no memory of what happened afterwards because he'd been hit so hard. Police located a broken bottle of Jack Daniels nearby, and the defendant was still in the residence. He was belligerent and upset, screaming at officers when they made contact with him. He was taken outside of the location, and police reviewed prior reports, which indicate that multiple calls had been made to the location before previously, and Mr. Thomas had been identified as the primary aggressor in a recent incident just on September the 29th that involved drug use and violence against the same victim. This case, with some input from the victim, would end up being transferred as a felony. This is a possible aggravated assault and aggravated battery, Your Honor. Although this defendant has no prior arrests or convictions, there are prior police reports for similar behavior. We would argue there's a risk to reoffend, a risk of intimidation and tampering here, and currently, obviously, a safety risk. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety. He's got one count of battery family violence, no contact with Mr. Manley, stay away from that location at 2 Interlock Avenue, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond.
Mr. Lee Manley is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. McLean.
Yeah, our principal arguments and asking the court to consider a signature bond would be he has a professional job, be highly disruptive to his career for him to disobey any court orders whatsoever. This is his first sort of thing, Your Honor. So we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. I've got, he's now a local person, although I have originally some out-of-state area codes for relatives and whatnot. Nonetheless, he's now a local person.
Does he need a one-time escort, Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor. It's going to be one of those situations where it might be that he is the person who pays for it, but I explained to him that if the court ordered stay away from the location, then criminal law would trump realty law.
Okay. It will be a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Lee Manley, stay away from the Interlock Avenue address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Thomas.
Next, y'all. Next, we're going to go to position number 20, Mr. White.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. White. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006892G with criminal trespass and possession of marijuana less than an ounce. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has 7 cycles, Your Honor. The last arrest was May the 31st, 2024, and that was in Fulton County for a failure to appear. And this is going to be a bond surrender, Your Honor. He does appear to have an open case pending with pretrial services. That case number is 21 CR 002383A for giving false information to an officer and carrying a concealed weapon. Also, he appears to have an open case pending in New York for criminal possession of controlled substance in the 3rd degree and criminal use of drug paraphernalia. and assault in the second degree and criminal obstruction. Nothing in addition, there were no other convictions listed in the GCIC on her. He does appear to meet the criteria for UJR level 3. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
So the false info and the carrying concealed weapon, he's out on bond for those?
He appears to be out on a signature bond through pretrial
Signature bond.
services. Your Honor.
Okay, all right, and if you all would see if you can locate that bond for me and see if I was the one to issue it or not, and what the terms are of it, please. Yes, Miss Allen.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident that occurred on the 7th at about 10 a.m. It looks like at 801 Techwood Drive, Northwest. Police were called there to the location that is actually a fraternity house on campus at Georgia Tech, I believe that, yes, Techwood Drive. There, police met with Mr. Milan and Mr. Wu, who reported that an unknown male was actually inside the location. Police went inside, found the defendant in the kitchen. He had been told repeatedly to leave and refused. He was then given a criminal trespass warning and left the location, but later the same day he came back. There are some mental health concerns, Your Honor. We'd be asking for a BHET. We also would like a surety bond, $1,000, stay away from all Georgia Tech property, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, no guns, specifically surrender any firearms. Based on the IELA factors, we've got an issue here with failure to appear, but also this is very dangerous behavior, not just for the defendant, but for the public in general. Thank you.
Your case, Mr. McLean?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe, is his mother Karen online there?
I don't know. Do you know her full name?
Karen Smith?
Ms. Smith, are you on the line with us this afternoon?
This is
Mr. McLean, did you have an opportunity to speak with her?
I did. 20, correct? 20? Okay. Your Honor, he works in carpentry and tiling, any type how he makes a living in contract. He has a local address in Union City. His family is local. In years since graduation from high school, he has been gainfully employed. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond or a low surety bond for those reasons.
Has anyone been able to ascertain that previous bond for me?
I will have a social worker talk to him. I understand. I heard what the state was saying about its concern about a BHET, and I'll have a social worker talk to him about whether we could go that route on the BHET if the social worker finds it advisable.
So, Your Honor, this young man has a 21 CR case. He was rearrested in June of this year, and the order from June 11th is Judge Law's order, SOB through level 2 for carrying a concealed weapon and false information to law enforcement.
Any other stipulations on that, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor. And I can look and see what the original bond was in 2021, but he clearly failed to appear for that case.
Okay.
It was initially a $3,500 split bond, and this is an incident Greenbrier Mall. And so he's required to stay away from there.
All right, so
I would just reiterate the state's concerns. He has an address in Union City and a job. Why is he hanging out in a fraternity house where he is not a member? He could have been killed. That is very alarming.
okay.
Georgia Tech cases, Your Honor, I frequently take a piece of paper and draw a map of the large extra parts of Georgia Tech that people don't think about. So, stay away from Georgia Tech.
All right, well, for the criminal trespass and for the possession, it's gonna be a $250 good bond on both charges, makes for a total of a $500 good bond. A BHET, stay away from the Georgia Tech campus, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Ms. Bridgewater, I'd also like for you to put that 21 CR case on for the SAP calendar on October 22nd. So maybe we can handle, I'll be the judge on that case. I will remember Mr. White, and hopefully we can get him some services and take care of both of those cases.
Okay, and that's 21 CR. Will you repeat the number?
002383A is what I have.
2383A.
002383A.
Got it.
Okay, all right. Good luck to you, Mr. White. If you don't get out, I'll see you back before me on October 22nd.
Was it good, right? So you gotta pay for it. You're gonna sit over here. Next, y'all, is gonna be position number 16, Mr. DeCora Smith.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006884Y with battery family violence, 2 counts. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has 6 cycles. The last arrest was August the 2nd, 2023 in Montana for theft, issuing a bad check, and deceptive practices, and money laundering, and forgery. That case appeared to be still pending, Your Honor. There were no convictions listed in the GCIC. He does appear to meet the criteria for UJR at level 2. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred on the 31st of August. So, the defendant was picked up when officers on patrol had knowledge that he had an active assault warrant, saw a car associated with the defendant, made contact with him inside of a store. And when he was processed for arrest, he was found to be in possession of felony level drugs. I believe he was at first appearance today. The warrant that they were serving when he was arrested is from August the 31st. Police were called to 57 Hardwick Street Southeast, Unit 3201. There they met with the victim. Her name is Isis, last name Dave. I believe she's joined us on the Zoom. We did try to reach out to her today, but we're not successful. She reported to police that the defendant had come to her house a few days prior to use the shower. They share a child, a 4-year-old named Cairo. And when he'd been at the house prior, he'd left some of his items. They'd arranged for him to come back on the 31st to pick up his things. She'd been in the living room processing laundry when he, while at her location, tried to talk to her and engage with her, and she wasn't really interested. This angered him. He became disrespectful and got in her face and started to become violent. Mrs. Dave reported that she had a pocket knife, and she told him she would not be afraid to use it if he didn't leave her alone and leave her house. At that point, he punched her in the left side of her face. She was able to strike him, I believe, in the armpit area with the pocket knife that she had, but she did flee the home and get help. The defendant followed her outside. He broke the television in her home. He took some of her items, like her cell phone. She had to go try to get someone to help her and make a call, but she was unable to because for about 10 minutes, he chased her around the apartment complex, throwing things at her. He actually threw bricks at her, and he was gone because his family came and picked him up. But when police got there, they observed that she had a laceration and obvious scratches on her arms and bruising on her face as a result. And that's the basis for the batteries, Your Honor. These people share a child. And I know this is an incident that occurred August the 31st. And as you know, with domestic violence cases, you call for police, you call for help, nobody's arrested. And the person who feels bold enough to assault you just comes home and your life continues. So we haven't had a chance to speak with Ms. Dave today, but the state is concerned not just for her safety, but for the safety of a child in that home. The facts that she relayed to police on the date of this incident included that she felt she had to protect herself by letting the defendant know she had a pocket knife. This creates a risk not to her and people in and around her neighborhood, but also to the child. We'd ask for a $2,000 surety, stay away from the location, no contact with Miss Dave and with her child. That child's initials are, I'm not sure, hold on. Yeah, Cairo, I believe last name Dave, but I'm not sure. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. My review of his criminal history shows multiple arrests for felony drugs in Fulton County or in Georgia, but no disposition, and 2 current open cases for felony theft and fraud out of Montana. Thank you.
Ms. Dave, Ms. Isis Dave, if you're on the line and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. You, of course, do not have to address the court, but if you would like to, I'll need for you to activate your camera for me, and I'll have to swear you in.
Okay, I'm trying to activate my camera real quick.
Okay. You still with me, Ms. Dave? Ms. Dave, can you hear me? I'm not sure if we've lost her or not. I see that she's still there. I'm gonna let you go ahead and go,
She's
Ms.
coming back on the line now, Judge. She did drop off.
Okay, thank you.
This is her now.
Okay, there you go. Can you hear me, Ms. Dave?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, can you raise your right hand for me? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, ma'am?
I would like to tell the court that first, my son actually wasn't at the house when the altercation happened, but that was really it. I really was trying to because I'm the one that injured him, I was just trying to call the police to like get my items and stuff back, but I wasn't really trying to get him arrested because he had to get rushed to Grady anyway. So yeah.
Well, you were trying to get away from him if you had a knife and you were and you struck him, so you all were in some type of conflict, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and has this happened before?
No, this only happened this time. That's why I had ended up calling the police.
Okay, and have you all been together since August 31st?
Actually not since August 31st, but after he got out the hospital, I actually went to the hospital to help him out because he was in there for 2 weeks, but after he got out the hospital, we actually were together.
Oh, together at the present time?
I'm sorry?
Do you live together at the present time?
No.
Okay, and this young child, is that your child with Mr. Smith?
Yes, sir.
And is he taking care of the child?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else that you want to tell me, Ms. Dave?
No, sir.
All right. Ms. Allen, you have any questions you would like to ask of
Just
Ms. Dave?
briefly,
Okay.
Ms. Dave, did you get your items back? What items did you need to get back?
Yes, ma'am. I needed my phone back and my wallet with my ID and stuff in it. I got that back too, and I had it was like $2,000 worth of perfume and lotion that I got back too.
And the police report and documents indicate that you were chased around and family members of his picked him up before police arrived. Is that what you remember happening?
Yes.
And what side of the face were you struck in?
He mushed me on my left side.
Okay. And did you have any marks after the fact besides the bruising that police saw on the scene?
No, I didn't have any bruising on my face, just on my arm when I had fell from running.
Yeah, they saw scratches, but you also had a bruise to your left cheek. Do you remember that?
No, just the one on my arm.
Okay. And who was able to call the police?
I was.
Did you use someone else's phone?
Whose phone did I use? I want to say my son's phone. No, not my son's phone. I think it was my uncle's phone. I had ended up calling the police for my mom, and uncle had ended up pulling up. So I think it was my uncle's phone who I used.
Okay. And so were your mom and uncle there when the police came?
Yes, ma'am.
And did they make statements to the police?
No.
Did they see you injured though on the scene and they tried to help?
They came like when everything really died down. I was in the house when they came, so it was like calm when they ended up coming.
Okay. And who else lives with you there at that location?
Just me and my son.
And is this the first time you've ever called the police on Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, no questions further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. McLean, thank you for being here this afternoon, Ms. Dave.
Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Honor, just trying to analyze that public safety assessment and looking at the points and everything. I noticed that it does say he doesn't have any prior violent convictions, and I do, of course, see the 2023 matter, which is financial in nature. My client is a graduate of Carver High School. He works in a landscaping company, not for himself, but for an employer. And I would ask the court to consider a signature bond, or if not possible, then as low as possible.
One other question actually from Mrs. Smith, just briefly, if you don't mind, Your Honor.
Not a problem, Ms. Allen. Are you still with me, Ms. Dave?
Or no, I'm sorry, Ms. Dave.
You still there, Ms. Dave?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, activate your camera again for me, please.
Okay.
There you go. Yes, Ms. Allen.
When this young man was taken into custody, were you made aware that he'd been arrested?
When he was being arrested, he actually called me during him getting arrested. But that's how I found out, yes.
And has he called you from the jail?
Yes, he called me one time from jail.
Okay. And you received a call from us this morning, you just haven't had a chance to return our call back?
I didn't get a call from you guys this morning. I actually don't have any missed calls.
How'd you get the Zoom link for today?
His mother.
Got it. And what's his mom's name?
April.
Oh, so
April.
she's the one who's receiving all these calls from the jail? So she let you know what was going on? Did you get any instructions from April?
No.
Okay. How old are you, ma'am?
I'm 24.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further from counsel?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, it's gonna be a $2,500 good bond, no, $2,500 signature bond through pretrial on each charge. Makes for a total of a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, 1-day anger awareness. Given the situation at this point in time, there'll be no further contact with Ms. Dave, and stay away from her residence, third-party transfer of the minor child for visitation, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Smith.
Next, I got position number 19, Your Honor. It's gonna be Mr. Warner.
Your Honor, did you mention anything about anger awareness? Did
1-day anger awareness, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good afternoon, Mr. Warner. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006899E with giving false information to law enforcement. Your history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor, he has 19 cycles. The last arrest was May the 6th, 2024, out of Riverdale, Georgia, for a failure to appear. The underlying charge was obstruction, a misdemeanor, obstruction of an officer, a misdemeanor. And that case does appear to be still pending. In addition to that, he appears to have an open case pending in Morrow, Georgia, for criminal trespassing. Also, he appears to have an open case pending in South Fulton, the city of South Fulton, Georgia, for criminal trespassing. There was no case number provided for that arrest, Your Honor. He does have misdemeanor sentences and convictions. He received a nolo contendere sentence in 2019 for theft by shoplifting. And there was a conviction in 2017 for theft by shoplifting, and another conviction in 2017 for disorderly conduct. And he received a nolo contendere sentence out of Clayton County in 2017 for criminal trespassing. And there was one in 2016 for 2 counts of disorderly conduct. He does appear to meet the criteria for a UJ or a level 3. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Sal?
This is an incident from October the 6th. Around noon, police in East Point located the defendant laying down in front of the entrance to City Hall there at 2727 East Point Street. They approached him and let him know he needed to leave. There was a exchange back and forth. The defendant claimed he didn't have any ID. Eventually, he told the police his name was Bosey Jones, Bosy. Once he was taken into custody, his wallet and identification were found hidden inside of his underwear, revealing his true identity. He has a extensive arrest record since about 2013, all for shoplifting, failure to appear, criminal trespass, some threats, and simple battery. We'd be asking for $1,000 surety, Your Honor. His last arrest was just in May for a failure to appear. We'd ask for a BHET, stay away from the City Hall at East Point unless he's got official business there. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you.
Playing.
Your Honor, my client went to Creekside High School and graduated from Langston Hughes High School after transferring. He is aware, he's cognizant of the arrests and is knowledgeable of it. I've asked the social worker to consider, I've asked social worker to visit him to see if we need to do a BHET. He's a music producer, and that's how he makes his money. And all that's electronic these days. They do it on the electronic devices and produce music. I'd ask the court to consider a signature bond, but if then proposing is
Okay, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3, social worker visit for a BHET, stay away from City Hall and East Point unless he has official business there, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Warner.
What was that amount? You ain't gave me nothing, no opportunity to say nothing. I don't understand what you're saying. What was the amount, Your Honor?
It's a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 3.
All I'm trying to ask is, I ain't had no opportunity to say nothing, so I'm trying to figure out when do I sign to get myself out of here.
Okay, you can ask the officers. They'll let you know.
Yeah, that don't make sense. If I go to court, you said while I'm out on bond, but then you sit there and say like I'm finna go upstairs or something. That's not making sense to me.
I need for him to have that BHET, Mr. McLean.
yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Who do we have next?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon, Officer Milton.
Before you is position 11, Ms. Harris.
Good afternoon, Ms. Harris. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. You and the other young lady there, you all have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We're providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Let's see, Ms. Harris, you've been charged in case 24 CR 006896F with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Your Honor, she has 9 cycles. The last arrest was September the 19th, 2023, with the Lake City Police Department for a probation violation. This is going to be a bond surrender also, Your Honor. She was out on a signature bond through pretrial services. That case number is 23 CR 005591 and a letter F. Underlining charge is simple battery. She does have 1 prior misdemeanor conviction. It's in 2010 for criminal trespassing. I was unable to find what she's on, what that probation violation was for in Lake City, Your Honor. Nothing in addition.
Thank you. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred at 433 People Street Southwest in Atlanta. I have that as the YMCA Learning Center. The victim in this case is Eric Page, who shares children with the defendant. The defendant is accused of striking the victim when the victim went to the incident location to pick up the 2 children that they share after the defendant told him that she was running late. The parties got into a verbal dispute, at which point the defendant punched the victim in the face and then proceeded to leave with the children. A witness by the name of LaShonda Hubbard states that she did see the defendant hit the victim. Our office has had a chance to speak with Mr. Page, who confirmed that the parties are not in a relationship. They do not live together, but they do share those 2 children, that this incident happened in the lobby of the school in front of their 2 kids. He states that they do have previous cases together where he was the defendant and Ms. Harris was the victim. Those are 19 SC 171482 and 22 SC 181687. He stated that he has tried to file a TPO against the defendant, but they were unable to serve her. He has not seen or spoken to the defendant since this incident, but the defendant's boyfriend has been calling him and making threats towards him. He, of course, wants no contact with the defendant. Given the fact that the defendant does have an open case in which she was given a signature bond and then has picked up these new charges, the state's recommendation is going to be $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, that she takes some anger awareness classes, that there's a third-party transfer of the children, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol, and that no further contact with the victim includes contact through any third parties. I believe that the 2022 simple battery charges that she has are with a different victim.
Okay.
And I would ask the court to sound for Mr. Eric Page.
And did this, when did this incident happen, Ms. McConkey?
When did it happen?
Yes.
Yes.
Where?
August 27th. Where? It happened at the YMCA Learning Center, 433 People Street, Southwest Atlanta.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Mr. Page, I see that you're on the line. If you would like to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. You certainly do not have to address the court, but if you would like to, you'll have to unmute yourself, activate your camera, and I will have to swear you in. Okay, it doesn't appear that Mr. Page would like to address the court. Mr. Cook, is this your case?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 41 years old.
How you unmute to go to the camera?
Okay. I'm not able to help you, Mr. Page, but if you can figure it out, I'm happy to hear from you.
The host has asked to start the video later.
Okay, there you go.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, Mr. Page. Can you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, sir?
I'd like to tell the courts this, man. That was my friend before shooting my kid's mother. Know what I mean? we both done had our differences when it comes to verbal. Know what I mean? What I got going on have bettered me when it comes to the physical. Know what I mean? I don't want to see her in no jail. I don't want to see me in jail. I don't want to see her going through all these extra situations. That stuff y'all talk about with Lake City. I done paid to get out of jail. I pay to get out of jail now. But I do want to address this to the courts because my kid mama did tell me some guy that she dating, that mean that made so many different type of comments about what Ham did to me in my previous past life. I got 10 kids. I run a business. I live 2 states in Florida, and I also live in Atlanta. This guy have called me. I'm a convicted felony. I'm scared for my life, sir. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I run a local business where I have to move around Atlanta. Now you feel me? And I want to just address to you and in front of everybody, just the way I told her. If somebody come to me more than just verbally threaten my life, and they appear to me and I'm scared for my life, I want to tell you, my honor, I'm gonna handle my business. Because I gotta make it back home. I got
Okay.
5 toddlers.
All right. So you know, Mr. Page, that what you need to do is you need to contact the police if people are threatening you. Okay. So that's that.
Well, I'm gonna put it to you like this. I don't did that. Now I mean, you feel me? They can't find my
Okay.
baby
So
mama. My baby mama don't have a local address where they can serve her the PTOs. Like I don't try to do that for over a year. You see what I'm
okay.
saying?
So and when you speak of your baby's mother, are you speaking of Miss Harris?
Yes, man. Yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're talking about the same person. All right. So, all right. Anything else that you'd like to tell the court this afternoon, Mr. Page?
I want the court to know, do you hear me saying that I fear for my life for whoever
I hear
this
you.
guy so-called supposed to be? He done said, he say what he done to me. With him done reached out to me Friday, disturbed my day of going to work, telling me
Okay.
what he been looking for me, this, that, and the third. I'm letting you know, Your Honor. My name is Eric Bernard Page. 4285. My social security number is
No,
255
don't give me your social
6734.
security number,
Now, what I'm
Mr.
trying to
Page.
tell you, my
Mr.
sir,
Page, Mr.
what I'm trying
Page,
to tell you, I
I
fear for my
understand.
life,
I
and
need
if
you
the
to calm
guy
down.
approach me, I got to handle my business.
Okay, so Mr. Page, this is a bond hearing this afternoon. So what I'm going to instruct is that that Ms. Harris nor anyone connected with Ms. Harris can have any contact with you. Okay, that's what I can do as a part of this bond. But anything else, you need to contact the police. You hear me?
I don't even play the police games. I just want
Well, I'm just telling you
I
what
just want
I'm just
this to
telling
be
what you should
heard.
do.
I just want this to
Okay.
be heard and recorded. You know what I mean?
Okay, I've heard you, Mr. Page, and
Okay.
this is being recorded. It's also being on YouTube. So that's why they want you giving out your social security number. So
I ain't worrying about that. I got a blockage on my social security number.
okay,
I've been having
okay.
people stealing my credit for 5 years.
All right, Mr. Page. Thank you for being here this afternoon, sir.
In Your
Okay.
Honor, I do see in the system where there was a TPO that was obtained by this gentleman, and it was dismissed on the 24th of September because no one was able to serve the defendant. Mr. Page, if you would connect with our victim advocate who's here on the Zoom and Mrs. Makake, we can help make that process happen.
Yeah.
And assist you with that, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Have a good afternoon, sir.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Cook?
Yes, John, my client is 41 years old. She does share children with the alleged victim. From what I heard of the history and even comments he's made, he has at times been in this relationship the defendant in similar cases. My client's position is she was there to pick up her kids. He approached her. She was acting in self-defense as he was the aggressor, which shouldn't be surprising given what he's admitted as far as his own record is concerned. She has no problem with a stay away and no further contact. I don't know if the children have been legitimated, so if they haven't, he certainly has no call to see them or any route to see them unless there is a court order in place, to that effect. Given that, and given her position that this was essentially self-defense, we were asking for a signature bond. If it's not restricted, I know there was a lot of information there. Again, we have no objection to a stairway and no further contact. We would object to anger management or any courses of that nature. Nothing further.
Okay, so it looks like I gave Ms. Harris a signature bond for $3,000 back on September 18th of this year through pretrial. My question would be, if this incident occurred on August 27th, which would have been 2 weeks prior to me giving her that signature bond, why this wasn't picked up at that point in time and handled at the same time?
Looking at the signature bond, it looks like that signature bond is from last year.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right, Ms. McConkey. Thank you. Has she done one-day anger awareness, Mr. Cook?
Oh, I don't know, Your Honor. I'm not familiar with any previous sentencing or.
Well, I'm telling you, I ordered her to do one-day anger awareness, and that might make a difference in whether or not what I'm gonna do right now. So if you want to find out whether or not she's done that anger awareness, or pretrial can tell me if you have any, do you have, Ms. Jackson, any indication that she's done the anger awareness that I instructed her to do back in September of 2023?
I'm not sure. I can pull that case up, Your Honor, and see if there are any notes.
Okay, would you do that for me, please?
Yes, sir. She was scheduled for a class on December the 4th, 2023, and she missed that class, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Ms. Jackson. It's gonna be $1,000 good bond, no further contact with Eric Page, stay away from Mr. Page's residential address, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Let's see, Ms. Bridgewater, if you can have both these cases placed on that SAP calendar on October 22nd, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so I have this current number, and what is the other number?
23 CR 005591F.
Got it. It'll be on there.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Lewis, for the information that you gave the court. All right, good luck to you, Ms. Harris.
Next, we have position 12, Ms. Shanta Harris.
Good afternoon, Ms. Harris. You have been charged in case 24 CR 006898J with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
She has 3 cycles. The last arrest was September the 15th, 2021 in Fulton County for obstruction of an officer. That case appeared to be still pending, Your Honor. That case number is 21 CR 004913 and the letter J. There were no convictions listed in the GCIC. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred October 5th, 2024. The defendant is accused of giving officers a false date of birth. The state's recommendation is going to be a signature bond as soon as I confirm that she wasn't already given a signature bond for that 21 CR case. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
That 21 CR case is in bond forfeiture status. She failed to appear in court.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lewis?
The 21 CR 004913, she's in bond forfeiture status. She have a bench warrant on her. She failed to appear in court for Judge Besson.
Well, given that she...
Huh?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, she failed to appear in front of Judge Besson, and also she has a conflict attorney, Cafe Watson, assigned to that case.
Okay, so she's gonna be on the SAP calendar on the 22nd.
Both these cases can be on the 22nd. I'm just letting you know that case is in bond forfeiture status.
Right, so what I'm saying is that she's not getting out until the 22nd.
No, she has to make a new bond on that case.
Okay.
So then I would just recommend $1,000 surety bond for this case, and then we can handle both of them at SAP.
Okay, Ms. McConkey, why did the officers ask for her name or date of birth or whatever they asked for?
So she was in the vehicle with an individual named Mr. Thomas, and officers were conducting a traffic stop on him. He wasn't providing any adequate information, said that he was rushing her to the hospital because she was having stomach pains. So then the police went to her and asked her for her identifying information as well as his information, and she gave them an incorrect date of birth. Okay. And then they saw that she has then they saw that she had the FTA, so.
Okay. Mr. Cook?
Your Honor, given the nature of the allegation, we would still press for a signature bond. However, if it is a surety bond, we would certainly like it no higher than the state's recommendation.
All right. She's gonna be in until the 22nd. It's gonna be a $50 good bond. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. All right, good luck to you, Ms. Harris. I'll see you back on the 22nd.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 8. Mr. Gaston, Quintarius Gaston.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gaston. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006893F with willful obstruction of law enforcement officers and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Your Honor, he does not have any prior arrests on file. He appears to meet the criteria for UJR through the jail. Nothing in addition.
Okay, Ms. McConkey?
I did see one previous arrest on his GCIC for a 2013 burglary. This incident occurred August 5th, 2024. The incident location is 2748 Donnelly Hollowell Parkway in Atlanta. The victim is Dorothy Gadsden, who is the defendant's grandmother. The defendant is accused of grabbing his grandmother and throwing her to the ground after locking the victim and his mother, whose name is Staria Gadsden, outside of the victim's apartment. They did manage to get back into the apartment after a brief struggle. The defendant then tried to kick the door down after the victim and his mother got inside, and then he proceeded to throw the victim, his grandmother, onto the floor, onto the ground outside of the apartment. The defendant's mother, Staria Gadsden, told officers that the night before, the defendant had attempted to strangle her and break her neck while they were outside of the apartment. So with some more information, he could be facing some additional charges on that. When officers tried to detain the defendant, he ran away into the parking lot while actively resisting arrest when officers did eventually catch up to him. Our office has spoken with Ms. Dorothy Gadsden, who states the incident location is her residence and the defendant does not live there. She confirmed the events in the warrant stated the defendant has some MH issues and has been refusing to take his medication. She states the defendant needs help. She has called the Georgia Crisis and Access Line, and they stated they would pick him up and take him to an MH facility. She says that she is a senior citizen and lives in a senior citizen facility and is at risk of being put out because the defendant continues to come there and keeps acting out in this way. She says that she doesn't want any contact with the defendant and wants him to stay away from the residence. I am inclined to give him a signature bond, but my concern is that if he does have these MH issues, I don't want him to get back out on the street and continue to go to his grandmother's residence and behave in this manner. So I will leave that to the court's discretion. I'm not sure if PD Cook has talked to the grandmother. They've had a conversation about him going to an MH facility. I would just want to ensure that he does get some help because it does seem as though he is struggling. No further contact with Dorothy Gatson, of course. Stay away from that incident location. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I'm not sure if Ms. Gatson is on the Zoom, but I would ask the court to sound for her.
Ms. Dorothy Astoria Gatson is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, certainly we would have no objection to a signature bond and the stay away and no further contact provisions. I did speak briefly with Ms. Gaston just before the hearing. It was rather noisy in her house. I think she had a house full of kids, but I got generally the same impression that Ms. McCockey stated. So perhaps the signature bond and then trying to get the social workers out there as quickly as possible to assess the situation in more detail.
All right, he can have a BHET while he's not in custody, so I'm going to order a BHET through a social worker visit. For the obstruction, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1. For the simple battery, a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial level 1 makes for a total of a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Social worker visit for BHET. No further contact with Dorothy Gatson. Stay away from the Donald Lee Parkway address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, but he is to maintain and stay on any prescription medication that he's currently on. All right. Good luck to you, Mr. Gatson.
You go home.
I got a question.
What's your question?
I got like all of my stuff is over there. How am I supposed to?
He wants to know how to get his stuff.
Okay, Mr. Gatson, you can have a one-time police escort to retrieve any belongings that you might have at the Donnelly Parkway address, okay? All right, good luck to you, sir.
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 9, Mr. Kenneth Gray.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gray. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006894J with 2 counts of battery, criminal trespass, and damage to property, and cruelty to children in the 3rd degree. Is there a history?
He has 2 cycles. The last arrest was November the 12th, 2023 in Clayton County for reckless conduct and possession of marijuana less than an ounce and unlawful possession of a firearm. That case appeared to be still pending in Clayton County, Your Honor. There were no convictions listed in the GCIC. He does appear to meet the criteria for UJR level 2. Nothing in addition.
Copy.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 195 Fairborn Road, Southwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Ayana Williams. Officers met with the victim who told them that the defendant had been sending her threatening text messages earlier in the day, stating that he would show her what is about to happen. When the victim arrived at her apartment, she saw the defendant breaking her bedroom window. He then entered into her apartment and then proceeded to punch the victim multiple times. He then grabbed a knife and swung it at her, but didn't make contact. Officers did not find the knife on the scene, but they did observe visible injuries to the defendant's hand, arm, and face, including bruises, cuts, and they noticed that her hand was bleeding. The victim's grandmother, Miss Emma Williams, confirmed the events and said that she was unable to physically stop the defendant due to her age, but she did try to verbally intervene. The victim's family member, a 3-year-old named Dee Williams, was also present and witnessed the assault. Given the facts of this case and that the defendant has an open case, the state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond on each count of battery, $500 surety bond on the cruelty to children, and a $500 surety bond on the criminal trespass. There is a concern that the defendant will try to intimidate this victim. No further contact with Ayanna Williams, her grandmother Emma Williams, or the minor child Dee Williams, who was present. Stay away from the incident location. Anger awareness, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would ask the court to stand for Miss Ayanna Williams if she's on the Zoom.
Miss Williams is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Mr. Cook.
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 22. He works at a truck washing facility, does not, has a very modest income. He denies the allegations as stated in the warrant. I guess the alleged victim is the grandmother. I don't know if he has any place to go, but he said he could find something. So we would not object to a stay away or no further contact. We would be seeking a signature bond at whatever level the court deems appropriate if it's not restricted.
Okay, for each of the batteries, it'll be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the criminal trespass, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 2. The cruelty, a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 2, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with either of the Williamses or the minor child. Stay away from the Fairburn Road address, and no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. One-time escort, if need be, to retrieve any belongings. Good luck to you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You go.
Next, Your Honor, is gonna be position number 15, Mr. Bobby Mitchell.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Mitchell. You've been charged in case 24 CR 0068838H with simple battery family violence and battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, 10 cycles. Last arrest was September the 22nd, 2022, out of Carson, California, for inflict corporal injury on a spouse / cohabitate. He does have one prior felony conviction that was out of California in 1982 for robbery. And he appears to meet the criteria for UJR level 2. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Sally?
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident occurred on the 6th at about 8 a.m. Location is 518 Margot Path. This is out of South Fulton. I would note that the victim in this case also has a warrant for her arrest. Her name is Verna Walker. She's described as the defendant's wife. Police responded to a physical altercation. They arrived on scene at Margot Path, and Mrs. Walker reported that there'd been an initial incident on the 5th, that she'd left the residence for about 24 hours and had been advised not to return. So I'm guessing there is a prior police report. When she returned on the 6th at about 7 a.m., she was packing her things in the bathroom, in the bedroom. And while she was removing some items from the wall, she broke a frame. And this angered the defendant, who grabbed her by her arms and wrestled her down on the bed. He began striking her with his open hands and fists. He also headbutted her, she reported. She was seen to have a small laceration to her upper lip, bruising on her right arm, left collarbone, and the back of her leg. So it's unclear whether all of these are from the incident on the 5th or what had just transpired the next morning. The defendant does have a substantial criminal history out of California. I would note 2018 and 2020, both were dismissed family violence cases. And I would also note that his only call from the jail has been to his wife, the victim in this case. We'd ask for a $3,000 surety bond, Your Honor. No violent contact if the two of these folks are going to be together. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. Thank you. And if you'd a sound from Ms. Walker.
And Ms. Walker has warrant from this incident or from some other incident, Ms. Allen?
Just based on their conversation at the jail, it sounds like South Fulton also obtained a warrant for her address, and I confirmed that on Odyssey. I'm not sure what the facts of that warrant would be. They didn't share that information with us. We've requested any prior police reports to get a better understanding of the full situation here, but obviously there's a safety concern, Your Honor.
Okay. And I see you on the line. Ms. Walker Mitchell, if you would like to address the court, I need for you to unmute yourself.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you can place your hand down. And Ms. Walker Mitchell, I don't know what your situation is, but I just want you to know that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have a right to have an attorney present also. So just if you want to address the court, I'm going to allow you to do that. But just know that and I don't know if you do or don't, but if you do have some charges pending, that you could get yourself into legal jeopardy. Okay. So what would you like to tell the court with that being said?
Just that there was no physical altercation the day before. We were arguing. It's just when I came back that the altercation occurred. So there was no police report. So when she's saying that there was another police, she's looking for another police report, there wasn't another police report. The police report was done when the incident happened. Okay. And I do take responsibility for the day before because my son died of fentanyl and I'm going through stuff because this is the 1 year. Not that my husband deserves that or anything. You just don't know how to do it. This is my 3rd child to die. So probably putting a lot on him right now. And we just moved here, but they let me out the hospital because the officer said that he was going home and I had explained to him, we don't have anybody here but ourselves. So if they release us from the jail, we don't have no phones, money, or anything. So we basically would be just walking around downtown. So I don't know if that was a contributing fact. I doubt it, but I'm turning myself in. I have no problem taking responsibility for my actions, but I also don't want anything to contribute to him losing his employment because we just relocated out here. I'm not a permanent resident of Georgia yet. I won't be a permanent resident until December. So I leave on the 19th to go back to work, and then I come back again next month. So I've just been kind of commuting. But I am in therapy, and I think that this was an unfortunate situation to happen, and I apologize to the courts.
Okay. Now, as far as Mr. Bobby Mitchell goes, do you want to still have contact with him or not?
Yes, I'm not afraid of him.
Okay. Has this happened? And I'm sorry for your losses, Ms. Walker Mitchell. I'm certain that is very difficult. Has this type of situation ever happened before with the two of you?
We've had to have, how do you say, like, de-escalate. And I would rather have someone help us de-escalate, only because we've only been together for 7 years, almost 8 years. And as you know, my husband has spent 34 years of his life in prison. So when I feel like that we need that assistance, he'll call or I'll call if it gets to that point. But we've only had that happen, you know, a couple times, and I do mean that. But the thing that I'm having a problem with, you know, is, you know, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't, you know, do any drugs of any kind. It's just, I do believe that I need to further myself in my therapy and everything, and I think that Bobby might need some counseling as well.
Okay, thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am.
Your Honor,
Mr.
I just have a brief question.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Allen.
Ms. Walker, were you and the defendant together in California in 2018 and 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you the victim in those two cases he was arrested for at that time?
Yes, I'm the one that called.
Okay. And so just based on what you said, it sounds like there wasn't a police report on the 5th. What was the reason that you left for a 24-hour period to de-escalate? You chose to do that? It wasn't with police intervention?
No, he called because I was yelling. I was arguing.
So I guess I'm confused. So the documentation I have says that when you spoke to police on the 6th, you said that you'd returned back to the house after being gone for about 24 hours because you were told to leave for a period of time. Who told you to leave?
The officer. I called the day before. Okay. I called, my husband called. I was upset. I'm you know, telling the truth and everything. But she asked me to leave. When I came back, I sat outside and I called the Fulton police and asked them, could I come back? I didn't know what the process out here in Atlanta. And they told me I could come back in my house.
Okay. So there wasn't a physical altercation on the 5th, but the police were called and they said you guys needed to separate for a period of time to cool off.
Yeah. And I decided when I came back that I was just going to go ahead and leave for a little while. I was getting a change of clothes.
And so it was then that the physical altercation happened.
Yes.
Okay. And you spoke to our victim advocate today from our office?
No.
Did you speak to anybody about this case today?
No.
Okay.
Only the person that called me how to set up the Zoom.
Okay. So Ms. Cheney, our victim advocate, is on the Zoom, Your Honor, and spoke to the victim today. And if she'd put her Zoom video on, that might be helpful.
Okay. Which one is this? Because I spoke to 2 people, but I thought that was from the.
So somebody you spoke today to was an advocate in our office.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think I spoke to anyone from the courts, ma'am. Can you please put the person on? I just want to be sure, please.
Yeah. And so did you, when you spoke to the police on the 6th, do you remember talking about being grabbed and put on the bed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And being struck with hands and fists by the defendant?
No, I did say he helped me. He pushed me down with his hands and he held me down with his hands, and I don't know if he meant to, but when he was pushing me, he did headbutt me. I mean,
And you had a laceration to your upper lip area and some bruising?
Okay, well, I explained this
It's
to the
just a yes or no.
Yes.
You remember that part? Okay.
Officer.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there have been prior incidents of violence and police have been called before, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what you told our advocate on the phone today, correct?
Ma'am, I don't know which advocate you're talking about.
Okay.
I've called 2 different agencies as far as getting assistance help for myself today, and they've called me back too. So I've had 3 people calling me about this, but they were not from the courts.
Okay. So just briefly,
And if this is about, I'm just trying to get clarity.
Yep.
The young lady who called me from the court, who asked me about 3 or 4 questions and told me how to set up the Zoom, it could have been a discrepancy in our conversation because I had to keep asking her. No, she kept asking me, was this in California or in Atlanta? Did this happen since you've been here or in California? So I tried to answer her along the questions that she was asking me, but she didn't ask me but 3 questions, and I tried to answer those clearly.
Perhaps it's our misunderstanding, Ms. Walker. We just try to verify, there have been multiple arrests for domestic violence since 2018. You just testified you'd been with this defendant for the past 7 or 8 years. And so I wanted to know whether or not you were the victim in those cases as well. We didn't realize until later today that there was also a warrant obtained for this young woman, and I have absolutely no idea what that would be for. Ms. Walker, do you know what it is that you're charged with or alleged to have committed today or on the 6th?
Yeah.
What was it?
They said I hit him back.
Okay.
So
And the police chose not to take you into custody at the time, correct?
No, ma'am. They took both of us.
You're at home though, right?
Yes, I am.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They took us into custody.
Right. But you're at home and this gentleman is here. We're at first appearance for him. So you weren't processed and you're not in the Fulton County Jail right now, correct?
No, yes.
Okay. Okay. And previously you said something about the terrible loss that you just shared with all of us. And you said that it's a lot to put on him and you take responsibility for your actions. How does a personal trauma that you've experienced explain a physical assault? I guess I'm failing to understand that connection.
I take no accountability for his actions. Please don't do that to me.
Okay.
I work with women in domestic violence.
So is it your position today that this assault didn't happen, that it wasn't as bad as we think?
No.
Or I'm trying to understand.
What I'm saying when I say I take a responsibility for my actions is when I engage him in a way that's not the most respectful way verbally.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about.
And are you going to continue to be in a relationship with the defendant? Is that your intention? I'm in therapy now, so yes. Are you going to continue to be in a relationship with this gentleman?
Yes.
I'm not clear why you being in therapy is the answer to that question. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
Because that would help me and that would help us in communication in our marriage.
So you believe that if you adjust the way you respond to your trauma, he won't assault you anymore and that you being in therapy makes it okay?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I do not believe that 2 broke people, if one person gets whole, that's going to fix him. No, I believe that he needs some help as well.
Okay.
Some counseling as well. So no.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you being candid with us and helping us understand some of the background here. I absolutely am so sorry about your loss. And I hope you get some relief as you step through this. I know that that's probably impossible in a lot of ways, but we appreciate you being here today.
And I do want the judge to know that I am going to go and surrender myself, but I did want to be here for this. And
I mean, honestly, based on what I've seen, I wouldn't be moving forward with a charge as it relates to something that we've just heard about, a defense of self during an incident like this. But I guess we'll see. Your Honor, the defendant does have a capital conviction out of California, which does make his bond a restricted bond. I would just reiterate the concerns that I raised earlier. I think they're highlighted by the conversation that we just had. While it may sound a little bit like there was a misunderstanding about communication with our office previously, I'm of the belief that that is absolutely not the case, and that minimizing, taking responsibility for someone else's actions and what we see very often in the cycle of violence is exactly what is happening here. Multiple calls to the police in multiple states, 2 cases in California dismissed. I would argue that this is not the first time these 2 people have walked through this process and figured out how to make it go away, and that Ms. Walker's used to taking responsibility for her own assaults. So again, we'd ask for a $3,000 surety bond. And at this point, we'd ask for no contact, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and stay away. Thank you.
May I ask you something, ma'am? Or may I say something, please, to you, ma'am?
Ms. Walker Mitchell, I think that I've gotten enough information and on this matter. You can call, given that you're the alleged victim in this case, and speak with the victim advocate in the matter, and she can address, she or he can address whatever your concerns are, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you again, Ms. Walker Mitchell. Mr. McLean? If you're on mute, Mr. McLean, if you're speaking to me.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have any questions for Ms. Walker Mitchell. With regard to Mr. Mitchell's bond, I would emphasize that he was transferred by his company here to Georgia, that he has a good job. He drives a truck. It's 10.5 hours a day. His supervisor is aware of his need to get back to work. He's aware of his need to get back to work. I would ask the court to consider the lowest legal bond that he can have to facilitate that within the bounds of what is possible. I do understand the business about the large sentence that he got back something like 30-something years ago, but we would ask the court to consider a very low bond here.
Okay, nothing further. For the simple battery, it'll be a $500 good bond. For the battery, it'll be a $1,500 good bond. Makes for a total of a $2,000 good bond. Given what I've heard, I don't think it's a good idea for these two individuals to be around each other just at the present time. So at the present time, there'll be no further contact. He's to stay away from the Margot Pass address. He can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings that he might have there. No, excuse me, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Of course, you can seek to have the bond modified in the not so distant future if you would like for that to change.
Your Honor, I volunteered to leave the house because I have a son I can go to. He has nowhere to go. I'll leave the house.
Okay, so so I don't care who's in the house, you just can't be around each other at the present time. So so if you leave the house, then he can necessarily be there. But you can't be there if he's there. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want either of you to get into trouble because of that, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good luck to you both.
Do we know how long that is going to be in place?
It's going to be in place until this matter is either resolved or it's modified. So if he comes back before the court with his if he continues to be represented by the public defender at some time in the future and seeks to have that condition modified, the court will listen to it at that time and if appropriate will modify it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to help them with understanding it, it is likely that he does, as soon as he makes bond, he needs to inquire whether he qualifies for our office. Let's get that out of the way quickly, because I think it's likely he's going to have to hire.
Huh?
I think he's going to have to hire a lawyer. If he would come apply to the public defenders, let's get that cleared up so that we're not just waiting around thinking one thing's going to happen when it's not.
Well, you can have him qualified. Mr. McLean, just speak to him and seek to have him qualified at the present time, okay?
Thank you.
Your Honor.
All right. All right. Let's see. Who do we have next?
Next, Your Honor, is going to be position number 17, Mr. Anthony Stewart.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Stewart. You've been charged in case 24CR006885J with battery. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, he has 11 cycles. The last arrest was December the 19th, 2001. in Fulton County for possession of controlled substance. He was not prosecuted on February the 5th, 2022. He does have prior felony convictions. One in 1996 out of DeKalb County for aggravated assault and terroristic threats, an act. One in 1989 out of Maryland for possession of controlled substance. One in 1987 out of DC for possession of controlled substance. And he does have misdemeanor convictions. One in 1998 for simple battery, and one in 1997 for simple assault. He does appear to meet the criteria for a UJR, a level 2. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, this incident occurred on the 5th of October. Police were called about a fight in progress on a MARTA train that was southbound. On scene, they spoke to the victim. His name is Andre Lestrap. He had visible bruising on the back of his shoulder and arm area on his left side. He'd reported being struck repeatedly by the defendant with a black asp or baton type weapon. It's a metal, it's made out of steel. So he had bruising and swelling that was visible. We've been in touch with the victim, Your Honor. He reports he has no idea who the defendant is. The defendant got up, or the defendant sat down next to him. He actually allowed the defendant to have a seat next to him. The defendant became aggressive and started striking him, causing these injuries. We'd asked for a $2,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Obviously, there is maybe an evaluation that needs to be done. We'd ask for a stay away from MARTA, a BHET, if that's what the public defender requests as an initial piece here. This is a stranger on stranger assault. It's captured on video. There are some very real concerns, not just for the safety of the gentleman that's already been injured, but the general public. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, we have no objection to a social worker visit to evaluate further, but the main thing is we would ask the court to consider a signature bond, considering the age of the other matters. He is employed, Your Honor, Hartsfield Jackson, rather, as a wheelchair associate, and I believe that's a full-time job, and his version of the facts will be quite different.
Okay, it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Andre Lestrap, and abide by any MARTA restrictions. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Stewart.
Your Honor, does that include a black asp baton? Does he need to not carry that while he's on the MARTA bus?
Well, if that's a weapon, then he can't carry it. So I assume that's a weapon. So no weapons, whether they're batons or knives or guns or anything that can be considered a weapon. Okay.
Next is position 21. Mr. Wildy.
Mr. Wildy, good afternoon. You've been charged in case 24 CR 006897A with criminal trespass and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Ms. Jackson?
He has 2 cycles. The last arrest was October the 24th, 2021 in Clayton County for criminal trespassing. He does have 1 prior misdemeanor conviction. It's in 2023 out of Clayton County for criminal trespassing. He does appear to meet the criteria for a UJRA level 1. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Allen?
This is an incident from October the 7th at about 2 a.m. Off-duty sheriff's deputy was at the Waffle House at 1099 Northside Drive Northwest. He witnessed a group of cars come into the parking lot and park kind of splayed out, not in parking spaces, people hanging out, talking, not going into the location to order food. He asked them to leave if they weren't going to order food and do business there at Waffle House. He did a patrol circle and did some other business, and when he returned about 10 minutes later, all the people were still there, including the defendant, who was in his car sitting with the door open, and had been spoken to specifically by Officer Alvaron just shortly before that. Officer taps on his hood and asks him to leave. The defendant became aggressive, said, "Don't fucking touch my car. I'm not going anywhere." He was told to exit his vehicle and he refused. Once he was removed from his vehicle, he refused to put his arms behind his back and was not following directed orders while he was being detained. He started to hand off items to people there in his presence as he was being arrested. We'd asked for $1,000 surety, Your Honor. His only other prior conviction is for the same charge of criminal trespass in Clayton County. Request that he stay away. Part of that be an order that he stay away from the Waffle House at 1099 Northside Drive. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Your Honor, certainly would have no objection to the stay away from that location and the no ADW, but we would ask the court to consider a signature bond, given that there is only one prior. Your Honor, he is a graduate of the Perry Career Center in or near Jonesboro after having gone to, I believe, Morrow High School. His mother is very much involved in his life as well, and she is involved in youth development, and I think would have some very good advice for him. He works as a mobile mechanic, Your Honor. He is 23 years old. He's self-employed. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond. He will abide by whatever orders the judge gives him.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be a $500 signature bond through pretrial level 1, makes for a total of $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1. Stay away from the Waffle House and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Wilder.
And next, Your Honor, position number 13 is a waiver.
Okay, that is Shanquella Howard, who was charged in case 24 CR 0068881A with 2 counts of simple battery and 1 count of criminal trespass. See her history, Ms. Jackson?
Yes, she has 77 cycles. The last arrest was July the 26th, 2024, with the City of Atlanta Police Department for possession and use of drug-related objects. She does appear to have an open case pending for possession and use of drug-related objects. That case number is 23 CR 006026. And she does have misdemeanor convictions and sentences. There's one in 2022 for simple assault, one in 2020 for possession and use of drug-related objects, additional one in 2020 for criminal trespassing. She received a nolo contendere sentence in 2017 for possession and use of drug-related objects. It's one in 2016 out of Alabama for disorderly conduct. Here's another one in 2016 out of Alabama for criminal trespassing.
Your Honor, I would just say, honestly, there are so many cycles and they're all very similar. And I apologize, Ms. Jackson, I don't want to interrupt you, but you don't waste your time. There is not only an open case, but she is under sentence on 22 SC 185446, which is an aggravated assault conviction for pepper spraying someone. She's been criminally trespassed and prosecuted for violence and criminal trespass in and around the Edgewood Boulevard, and now with this case, the area of Ponce, where this occurred at a church, the church at Ponce. This is 1085 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast. So on the 5th of October at about 9 a.m., police were notified by the president of the location, Mr. Holtz, HOLTZ, as well as the security guard, Mr. Newton, who's here on the on the Zoom that while the security guard, Mr. Newton, was clearing sleeping people from the property, he approached the defendant who repeatedly refused to leave, refused to get up and leave. More than 5 times he engaged with her. She got aggressive and got in his face and threatened to spit on him. Colin Holtz, the other individual who was there when police were called, was present with the security guard during this part of the exchange, and the defendant did in fact spit on both of them. Spit came out of her mouth and actually went into Mr. Newton's mouth. She then fled the location. Her description was given to police. They located her nearby at about 11:30 in front of a nail salon where they had just called the police and reported that an aggressive female was in front of the location refusing to leave. That's 675 North Highland Avenue. She was located on the ground in front of the nail salon. She complained of feeling unwell, and she appeared to be under the influence of some substance and was taken to the hospital. When they ran her information, they saw she had an active failure to appear that was just issued in August of this year. Like many of the cases on our calendar today, this is a aggressive, unhoused person who may have substance abuse and or mental illness, and just general people in the community are being victimized. We would ask for an evaluation. I would tell you that the sentence that she's under for an assault on a stranger from 2022 includes a requirement that she undergo a mental health evaluation. And she's got 2 other cases since then involving the same type of behavior, batteries on strangers. We'd be asking for a $2,000 good bond, Your Honor, and an evaluation to be done while she is there at the jail. No contact with anyone at the church on Ponce. Stay away from 1085 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast, as well as the nail salon at 675 North Highland Avenue. Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that I recognize Ms. Howard's name from our competency calendars in the past. So I see, Mr. Newton, that you're on the line with us. If you would like to address the court, I'm happy to hear from you. Of course, you don't have to address the court, but if you would like to address me, now is your opportunity to do so. You would have to unmute yourself and activate your camera, and I'd have to swear you in. Mr. McLean, I'm happy to hear from you. I think that she should go back on the competency calendar unless you have something more that you would like to tell the court regarding Ms. Howard.
No, Your Honor. Her waiver is, she simply wanted to fold her tent for today and not be in court. She, I think, should go onto the competency calendar. We totally agree.
Okay, so let's check and see if she was supposed to have a mental health evaluation. That should have already been done. So I'm going to give her, for each of the simple batteries, $1,000 good bond. For the criminal trespass, a $500 good bond, makes for a total of a $2,500 good bond. Stay away from 1085 Ponce de Leon. No further contact with Mr. Holtz or Mr. Newton. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. And Ms. Bridgewater, let's place her on the October 25th SAP calendar that has the competency calendar at 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is that the 25th or the 24th? What day is that?
It's
Oh,
the 24th.
it's the 24th. You're
Okay.
right. Okay. Thank you.
All righty.
All right. Does that conclude the 2 o'clock calendar? Did I miss anybody?
That should be it, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Ms. Bridgewater, nothing further whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay, once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is, and I start this and don't even have position number 1. Forgive me, you guys. Position number 1 is reset further notice with the with the $3,000 SOB through the jail. Position 2 is reset further notice with the $3,000 SOB through pretrial. Position 3, reset further notice with a total $1,500 SOB through pretrial. 4 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 total good bond. 5 is going to the SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 6, reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 7, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a total $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 9, reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 10 is going to the SAP calendar with a $2,000 good bond. 11, SAP calendar with a $1,000 good bond. 12, SAP calendar with a $50 good bond. 13, SAP calendar with a total $2,500 good bond. 14, reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 15, SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. Wait a minute. 15 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $2,000 good bond. 16 is reset further notice with a total $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 17, reset further notice with a $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 18, reset further notice with a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. 19, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 20 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $500 good bond. And 21 is reset further notice with a total $1,000 SOB through pretrial. Are there any questions, comments, or otherwise?
Judge, I just want to clear up on position number 5. I spoke to somebody from mental health court. Those court dates for October 25th, he was supposed to appear in person, but he was released prior to getting this new charge. So they're going to put him on a jail MC court hearing for the 17th. By then they'll talk to him. He's still going to be on the October 22nd case, just in case calendar SAP, just in case he decided he do not want to participate in the program. But they're going to talk to him by the 17th and determine if he does or not want to be in the program. If he does, then he'll come off your 22nd calendar.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lewis. Anything else from anyone this afternoon? Okay, if not, I appreciate it. I'll see you all next time. Have a
Thank
good
you,
rest.
everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Have a great one, everyone.
Judge, you say it's the next time. When is the next time?
Next Monday. I've got the CIT jury trial the rest of the week.